Guys, urgent security update here from Israel. There have been 3 terrorist attacks in the last couple of days. Crazy stuff going on. We're going to break it all down for you here on the show. I'm Ben, and this is the Israel Guys. That was Israeli police in Jerusalem finally having enough with leftist protesters from Tel Aviv flying Palestinian flags in these protests. Fantastic stuff right there. Welcome back to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of Jew hatred and anti-Israel propaganda, you should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. If you enjoy this show, don't forget to follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and join us here on YouTube by subscribing to the channel. Also, we have a breaking news WhatsApp group that you can join. The details for that are down in the description below. Wednesday evening, there was a terrorist attack. A 14-year-old Palestinian from Beit Hanina neighborhood in Jerusalem dressed up like an Orthodox Jew and stabbed a 25-year-old Jewish man at the light rail station. The victim was moderately injured and was evacuated to the Shaare Zedek Medical Center for further care after being treated on the scene by first responders. We have actually a couple videos of what happened right here. This is right after the attack was carried out. You can see the terrorists laying there on the ground, and you can see the kippah next to him on the ground. He was actually dressed up like an Orthodox Jew, according to reports. Yeah, we're probably going to kind of keep this blurred so that YouTube doesn't censor us. It is graphic. It is disturbing stuff. But apparently he wasn't dead yet, and the police were staying on top of him. This one police officer that I believe was the guy who shot him was staying right on top of him in case, you know, he had a suicide vest or jumped up and tried to stab more people, obviously waiting for backup from other police officers to get there as well. This is another view of the same thing, I believe. This one you can see a little better view of the police officer. I wonder if the guy behind the bench, he may have been the guy that was stabbed. I'm not sure about that there. So it seems like a fantastic response by the guy who was stabbed in defending himself, and also the police officer for how quickly he jumped in to shoot this terrorist. It's always sad in a terrorist attack for the victims. But I mean, at some level, I have some level of I don't know what the word is, pity maybe, for young terrorists who have been brainwashed to the state where at 14 years old, you think that it's a good idea to go out and stab another human being for their race. Go stab another human being because they're a different, race, ethnicity than you, because they're Jewish, because they're a Jew living in the land of Judea. Obviously, heinous acts of evil happening here, but when the terrorist is so young, it's really sad that his life had to have been cut short because of circumstances, because of the brainwashing that he received probably from his family, from his school, from his community. And I put the blame for this squarely on the shoulders of the PA, the Palestinian Authority, who are actively pushing this kind of stuff in the culture every single day. This is from another bystander. He said, I identified the terrorist with the knife, held up, trying to stab people while the train was driving. Once the train stopped and the doors opened, I got out, cocked my gun, and while several civilians were beating the terrorists, I fired several rounds. Sorry, that was actually from the police officer who was Staff Sergeant. I guess they did not identify his name here. I guess they're keeping his identity quiet for security reasons. This is from another bystander. He said, he pulled out a large knife and came to stab us. I don't know how to explain it, but I kicked him really hard, and he ended up flying back 2 meters, and the knife fell out of his hand. I didn't even manage to jump on him, and the police officer already arrived and killed him. So, awesome response from a bystander there. Quick thinking, who knows if it saved some person's or multiple people's lives with his quick jump into action there. Hamas issued a statement in response, as you can well expect, and they said, the stabbing attack at Al-Musrara neighborhood in Jerusalem this evening is a heroic act and a victory for Al-Aqsa. and for the blood of the martyrs. It is a natural response to the crimes of the occupation. The operation and what we witnessed today is a heroic run-over operation in Hebron, which we're going to get to in a minute, and the wounding of a number of settlers by throwing stones and Qalqilia reaffirms that our people will continue to resist and will disturb the occupation and its settlers. So they made a statement lumping several of the terrorist attacks that have happened the last couple days together, which we're going to get to here in a minute. Statements like this obviously are horrendous. They make my blood boil in so many different ways. That Hamas is a terrorist organization that runs the state of Gaza, that they were given by Israel in 2005 due to world pressure, particularly pressure from the United States, to give up land to the Palestinians, and it did not work. Hamas took over. They're a terrorist organization. They are a proxy for Iran. They have fired tens of thousands of missiles from Gaza into Israel, along with funding and sponsoring and planning and taking credit for horrendous terrorist attacks like this for years and years and years and years. I mean, how long is this going to go on before Israel stops it, before the international community gets behind Israel and says enough is enough? And instead of the United States and other countries getting behind Israel and saying, take out Hamas, we were wrong, they get in front of Israel and say, give them more land, give Judea and Samaria to the PA for Hamas to take over again. Somehow people have this idea in their mind that giving away land creates peace, when we see from history, Gaza is a prime example, that this does not work, not even in the least bit. So that happened Wednesday evening, I believe, Wednesday night. The IDF was planning a trip to Joseph's tomb, which is in Nablus, the biblical city of Shechem, up a little bit further north in Samaria, mid to north in Samaria, about an hour north of Jerusalem. So Nablus is an area A city, which is under full Palestinian Authority control. And in the 1990s, the Oslo Accords happened and gave the Palestinian Authority autonomy over Area A, and Israelis held autonomy over Area C, and Area B was land kind of in the middle that held some sort of kind of joint autonomy between the PA and Jewish control. So Area A, with that, certain sites inside of Area A were designated according to a signed agreement that the PA would provide an open route and security for Israelis to be able to visit. And Joseph's tomb was one of those that was supposed to be open, because Joseph's tomb is right smack in the middle of Shechem, right smack in the middle of Nablus. And it was supposed to be open for Jews to be able to visit whenever they want. Of course, it's not what happened. You give an inch and they take a mile. That's kind of what always seems to happen with these types of agreements. And Joseph's tomb is not open, not in the least bit. And the only way for Israelis to visit is through about once a month. The IDF does an operation where they bring in a couple of armored buses. They let Jews come in at like 2 o'clock in the morning. And they do a military sweep beforehand, and they block off like a certain route of streets up to the tomb. And they bring in the buses, and everyone's able to visit for like 2 hours or an hour or something like that. And they get out. Normally without any type of large incident other than, fires in the middle of the road and rocks being thrown and that type of thing. This time there was a military unit that was part of the scouting operation to open up the road into Joseph's tomb in preparation for the buses of civilians to come in for the visit. There was a large explosive device that was detonated by a terrorist, I believe, it seems like next to a Jeep with a couple of soldiers in it. And there was an officer and 2 other soldiers who were injured in light condition. And then there was one soldier who was injured a little bit more severely. It's uncertain as to how bad his injuries actually are, but it's being reported as moderate at the moment. 2 of them were released from the hospital within a couple of hours, and 2 of them are still in the hospital. But it seems like from reports that we have right now that they're probably going to be okay. We do have one video of the explosion happening, kind of a little bit from a distance. You can see that going off. Like that's not a hand grenade. That's a pretty sizable explosion, whatever that was. So thank God that no one was killed, and thank God that the injuries were moderate and light in this case. And pray for the quick recovery of the soldiers that are still in the hospital. This is from the Jerusalem Post. They said the local branch of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad's military wing, the Al-Quds Brigade, said that it had activated the explosive device against Israeli forces. The group stated that the explosive attack came within the framework of the response to the continuous aggression against our people in the city of Nablus and its camps, and in response to the crimes of the Zionist occupation against our people and our struggling Palestinian people. Our land is forbidden to you, and Joseph's tomb is your tomb, said the local branch of the Al-Quds Brigade. So Samaria Regional Council head Yossi Dagan responded to the clashes on Wednesday night, stating, "We must never run away because of terrorism. Terrorism chases after the one who runs away from it. Terrorism runs away from the one who hits back at it." Dagan called for the government to take full control of Joseph's tomb, saying the failure to do so is what leads to the attacks on soldiers and worshippers. There's another terrorist attack that happened on Thursday. Yesterday, we're going to get into that, and also some response being taken to these attacks here in just a second. But first, our friends at Blessed by Israel ship the beautiful products of small businesses and families from Israel's heartland to people all around the world. You can buy the wonderful tastes and smells and goodness of the Promised Land. Check out the amazing extra virgin olive oil, savory spices, cosmetics, hand creams, soaps, lotions, chocolates, coffees, and much more. The best part about this is that at the same time as you enjoy the goodness in the land of Israel, you are also blessing the faithful pioneers who are restoring and rebuilding Judea and Samaria. That's right, your purchases are an effective way to contribute to the strengthening of Israel. So head over to blessedbyisrael.com to buy the wonderful products of Israel's heartland and support the pioneers of Judea and Samaria. Again, that's blessedbyisrael.com. The link is in the description below. So yesterday, the third terrorist attack that's happened in just the last couple of hours, last couple of days. Guys, this is so frustrating that these attacks keep happening, that they keep ramping up, and that for some reason the Palestinian terrorists don't feel intimidated enough to stop. There was a ramming attack on Route 433, the Jerusalem to Tel Aviv highway, at the Maccabim checkpoint in between Israel proper and Judea and Samaria. An IDF soldier was killed and 5 others wounded in the attack. 3 of the injured were soldiers. I guess the others were civilians. The one that was killed was Sergeant Maxim Mulchanov. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce that, who was a lone soldier from Ukraine. Here in Israel, lone soldiers are Jews for the most part who live in other countries who don't necessarily make Aliyah. But they come in to do their duty in the IDF voluntarily, and they serve, and a lot of times they go home afterwards. It's an absolutely commendable thing to do. They come to Israel just to serve, even though they don't have to. They have no obligation to do so. It's just strictly voluntary. As I'm a Jew, I'm going to go to the land of Israel and volunteer my time, and in this case, his life. He gave his life for this, to be a lone soldier here in the land of Israel, even though his home was in Ukraine. Absolutely fantastic drive to do this is incredible. The story seems like it goes that he and a couple other soldiers were walking to a bus stop for a day of R&R, like a fun day, I guess, from the military, a day off in Modi'in, and they were on the Israeli side. So this is a checkpoint in between Judea and Samaria, and then, Israel proper, as they call it. And so actually on the Israeli side, and there was a Palestinian who had a work permit to enter Israel proper, through the checkpoint. And so he had entered through, and he had a truck. And he rammed them in the bus stop, like turned around, rammed them again, killed the sergeant, and hit a couple other people as well. And then he took off and drove 10 kilometers to another checkpoint, and rammed into that one as well. But they had radioed ahead, and so they're waiting. They had a description of the car and stuff, and so they were able to shoot him pretty quickly. I don't think anyone was injured at the second checkpoint. It looks like, according to reports, the terrorists worked in Israel all the time and pretty much entered every single day. And he had entered at 5 o'clock in the morning into Israel proper from Judea and Samaria, had disappeared for a while, got in the Israeli vehicle, the Israeli truck. No one really knows exactly where he got it from, if he had accomplices or exactly how that worked. Came and carried out the ramming attack and then was killed at the second checkpoint. This is from Jerusalem Post. It says, some of the wounded were evacuated to Shari Tzedek Medical Center in Jerusalem and the Sheva Medical Center at Tel HaShomer. Others were treated in the field by Mogen David Adom. According to the first responders, injuries included abdominal obstructions as well as wounds to the limbs. 3 were sent to the Shari Medical Center in light condition. 2 were released soon afterwards, with a third set to be released later in the day. The terrorist was evacuated to Sheba, but eventually died. I can't say that. I'm terribly sorry to hear that. The IDF said that he entered Israel from the West Bank on foot earlier in the morning using a work permit, and we already went through that. He came back and committed the attack. So our prayers go out to the family of this lone soldier that was killed. I know whenever stuff like this happens, Israel always comes together as a nation and throws an absolutely massive funeral with a lot of people gathering together to show support for the family. So I'm sure this will happen here in Israel. I'm sure one of the guys will cover it on the show next week. And also prayers to all those who are injured in these attacks that are happening right now for a quick and speedy and full recovery, God willing. Continue to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Israel needs your prayers more than ever right now. Let us know what you think down in the comments below. We love hearing from you. We love engaging with you down in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Hit the little bell next to that subscribe button to join us. As always, tune out the fake news and tune into what is actually happening here in the land of Israel. We'll be back every day, Monday through Friday, with your direct connection to the land and people of Israel.